The christening was meant to be a carefully orchestrated moment of quiet redemption, a subtle re-entry for Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. A family affair, tucked away from the glaring eyes of the press. A visual whisper that they were still part of the royal fabric, but the optics backfired spectacularly. Instead of fading into the background, their presence ignited a renewed inferno of scrutiny, pulling the monarchy, yet again, into the Prince Andrew vortex. There they were, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the Duke of York, and his ex-wife, Sarah, Duchess of York, dutifully attending the christening of their granddaughter. A picture of forced normalcy, but that's where the charade ended. While other family members, presumably relieved to be free of the awkward presence of the disgraced couple, retreated to a local pub for a celebratory drink, Andrew and Sarah vanished. A hasty exit that spoke volumes. It was a calculated retreat, perhaps, designed to minimize further exposure. But in the relentless theater of the royal family, even absence screams a narrative. And what a narrative it is. Just when the palace hoped the Andrew saga was receding into the shadows, Andrew Lowe's explosive book, The Rise and Fall of the House of York, ripped open old wounds, unleashing a torrent of deeply disturbing allegations about Andrew's behavior behind palace walls. It wasn't just the usual whispers of privilege and entitlement, but a portrait of a man obsessed with control, prone to fits of rage, and utterly detached from the realities of the world outside his gilded cage. Lowe's book, the result of years of painstaking research, paints a chilling picture of Andrew's reign of terror over his staff. The bowing, for instance. It wasn't enough to simply acknowledge his presence. Andrew allegedly demanded a specific level of deference, a perfectly executed bow that reaffirmed his perceived superiority. Failure to meet his exacting standards resulted in a bizarre and humiliating ritual. "Let's try that again," he would reportedly say, forcing the unfortunate staff member to repeat the performance until it met his royal approval. This wasn't playful banter. It was a calculated exercise of power, a way to remind those around him of their place in the pecking order. But the bowing was just the tip of the iceberg. The book details instances of alleged temper tantrums, explosive arguments with Fergie, and dismissals based on the most superficial of reasons. One aide was reportedly fired because Andrew disliked the appearance of a mole on his face. Another was deemed unsuitable because he wore a nylon tie. These weren't decisions based on professional competence or breaches of protocol. They were acts of pure, unadulterated whim, fueled by an inflated sense of self-importance. Then there are the stories that border on the surreal. The staff member forced to climb 4 flights of stairs every morning to open Andrew's bedroom curtains, despite the prince being perfectly capable of doing it himself. The television technician summoned late at night to explain how a TV remote worked. The police protection officers, highly trained and funded by the public, allegedly tasked with collecting Andrew's used golf balls, or, even more disturbingly, finding women for him. These weren't requests, they were demands, delivered with the expectation of unquestioning obedience. They speak to a deeply ingrained sense of entitlement, a belief that the rules simply didn't apply to him. The timing of these resurfaced allegations couldn't be worse. The royal family is already grappling with a myriad of challenges, from questions about its relevance in the 21st century to the ongoing fallout from the Meghan Markle saga. And let's not forget the renewed circulation of those deeply unsettling photographs of Andrew in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. The contrast is stark. When allegations of bullying surfaced against Meghan Markle, Buckingham Palace swiftly launched a formal investigation. Yet, the long-simmering accusations against Andrew, whispers that had haunted the palace corridors for years, were met with silence. No investigation, no formal inquiry, just a collective holding of breath, a desperate hope that the storm would pass. Why the double standard? Was it an attempt to protect a son, a brother, a member of the old guard, while throwing a newcomer to the wolves? The optics, to put it mildly, are terrible. Today, Andrew is a pariah, stripped of his royal titles, banished from official duties. King Charles, reportedly at the end of his rope, has made it clear that his disgraced brother is a liability the monarchy can no longer afford. But banishment doesn't erase the past. It doesn't silence the voices of those who claim they were mistreated. And it certainly doesn't prevent Andrew from staging the occasional ill-advised public appearance that sends shockwaves through the palace and reignites the controversy. Behind the scenes, the emotional toll is immense. Sarah Ferguson, already a figure of public fascination and scrutiny, is reportedly on the verge of a breakdown. Friends say she is overwhelmed by the constant pressure, the relentless media attention, and the distress that her daughters are once again being dragged into the Andrew saga. She and Andrew reportedly see themselves as victims, punished repeatedly for the same mistakes. Titles gone. Reputation ruined. What more do they want? But for the palace, this isn't about punishment, it's about containment, it's about damage control. With Christmas looming and public trust hanging by a thread, the monarchy can ill afford another scandal. Each new allegation, each resurfaced story, lands with greater force than the last, threatening to shatter the already fragile foundations of the institution. And then there are the photos. Those infamous images of Andrew cavorting with Jeffrey Epstein, relaxed, comfortable, and seemingly at ease in a world of unimaginable privilege and depravity. They've resurfaced again, circulating like a toxic cloud, poisoning the public perception of the prince. Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing, but the photos speak volumes. They reinforce a narrative that many people already believe to be true. A man who wielded power with impunity, who demanded obedience from those beneath him, and who felt entitled to operate outside the bounds of morality and decency. The images in and of themselves don't introduce new allegations, but they visually confirm what former staff have alleged about Andrew's sense of power and immunity from consequence. They are a stark reminder of the company he kept, the choices he made, and the questions that continue to linger. The press is no longer treating these images as historical artifacts from a closed chapter. They are framing them as part of a wider, unresolved pattern of behavior. The public is no longer separating the man seen in these photographs from the man described by former staff. In their minds, they are one and the same. The question isn't about public appearances or formal status, it's about behavior. It's about how power was exercised in private, how staff say they were treated, and why those accounts are resurfacing now alongside images that many find deeply disturbing. Will these stories finally force a reckoning, a true and honest accounting of Andrew's actions? Or will they fade again, as they have before, leaving a stain on the monarchy that refuses to be erased? The palace, it seems, is betting on the latter. Their strategy is clear: deny, deflect, and wait for the storm to subside. But this isn't a summer squall. It's a Category 5 hurricane, and it's showing no signs of weakening. The problem for the royals is that the Andrew issue isn't just about Andrew. It's about the institution itself, about the perceived disconnect between the gilded lives of the monarchy and the struggles of ordinary people. It's about fairness, accountability, and whether those in positions of power are held to the same standards as everyone else. The allegations against Andrew strike a nerve because they tap into a long-standing narrative about the royal family, that they are out of touch, entitled, and insulated from the consequences of their actions. Every story of a staff member humiliated, every photograph of Andrew and Epstein's company reinforces this perception. It fuels the growing resentment towards an institution that many see as anachronistic and irrelevant. And what about the victims in all of this? The staff members who allegedly endured years of abuse and humiliation. The women who were allegedly trafficked and abused by Epstein and his associates. Their stories deserve to be heard, not buried beneath layers of royal protocol and PR spin. The palace's silence speaks volumes, suggesting that the reputation of the monarchy is more important than the well-being of those who were allegedly harmed. The monarchy is at a crossroads. It can continue down the path of denial and deflection, hoping that the Andrew issue will eventually fade away, or it can choose a different path, one of transparency, accountability, and genuine remorse. It can acknowledge the pain that has been caused, offer meaningful apologies, and take concrete steps to prevent similar abuses from happening in the future. The choice is there, but the clock is ticking. Public patience is wearing thin, and if the monarchy fails to address the Andrew issue head-on, it risks losing the trust and respect of the people it is supposed to serve. The institution is teetering, and it needs to make a choice: adapt or crumble. Perhaps King Charles, known for his more modern sensibility, will usher in true change, but that remains to be seen. He inherited a mess, and how he cleans it up will define his reign. The weight of history, tradition, and family loyalty is a heavy burden, but so is the weight of public opinion. He must decide which is heavier. The Andrew saga is a test of the monarchy's commitment to justice, fairness, and accountability, a test of its ability to adapt to the changing times, and a test of its very survival. The world is waiting to see if the House of Windsor can rise above the scandal and emerge stronger, or if it will be consumed by the flames of its own making.